There are moments in life that split everything into two halves, before and after. The day I found out what my brother did to me was the day my before died forever. My name is Lila. I was 27, deeply in love, and 3 months away from the wedding I had dreamed about since I was a little girl. I had the dress, I had the venue, I had the man I thought was my forever, Daniel. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years, 4 years of late-night conversations, shared dreams, and promises whispered in the dark. He wasn't just my fiancé, he was my best friend, or so I believed. And my brother, Marcus, he was my protector. Growing up, he was the one who walked me home, scared away boys who weren't good enough, and told me more times than I can count, "No one will ever hurt you while I'm around." I believed him too. That was my first mistake, trusting the two people who were supposed to love me most. It started with small things I chose to ignore. Daniel canceling plans last minute, Marcus being unusually quiet around me, a distance I couldn't name but could feel, like standing outside a room where people are whispering, and the moment you open the door, everything goes silent. I told myself I was overthinking, wedding stress, anxiety. I was planning the biggest day of my life. Of course my mind was playing tricks on me. But deep down, a part of me already knew. We always know. We just love people too much to believe what we already feel. The evening everything shattered started like any ordinary Friday. I had finished work early and decided to surprise Daniel at his apartment with dinner. I remember humming to myself in the elevator, balancing takeout bags, smiling at the thought of his face when he opened the door. I used my spare key. I wish I hadn't. The bags hit the floor before I even fully understood what I was seeing, and then the face that looked back at me in horror wasn't a stranger's, it was Marcus, my brother, my protector. Time stopped, sound stopped, I stopped. And in that single, silent, devastating moment, every memory, every promise, every "I love you" from both of them turned to ash right in front of my eyes. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I simply turned around, walked back to the elevator, and stood there, completely still, as the doors closed. That was the moment my before ended. The next 48 hours were a blur of phone calls I didn't answer and messages I couldn't bring myself to read. Daniel called 17 times. Marcus called 9. My mother called twice, which already told me everything about whose side this story was going to be told from. When I finally answered my mother, her first words weren't, "Are you okay?" They were, "Lila, we need to talk about this calmly." Calmly. My brother had betrayed me in the most unimaginable way possible, and my mother wanted calm. She came over that evening with my aunt and sat across from me at my own kitchen table like it was a business meeting. And what they said next broke something in me that I didn't even know could break. These things happen in relationships, Lila. Daniel made a mistake. Marcus made a mistake. But you cutting everyone off will destroy this family. I stared at her. "They're asking for forgiveness," my aunt added softly, "and honestly, Daniel says you'd been emotionally distant for months. Maybe—" "Don't," I whispered. But she finished anyway. "Maybe this is something both sides need to reflect on." Both sides. As if I had a side in what they did. As if my pain was a debate to be balanced. As if the girl sitting across from them, hollow-eyed and barely breathing, was somehow equally responsible for her own destruction. I asked them to leave. They left, but not before my mother said the words I will never forget for the rest of my life. "If you don't forgive them, Lila, you'll end up alone. Is that what you want?" I didn't answer. I just closed the door. And then I sat on the floor of my hallway and let myself fall completely apart, because no one was watching anymore, and I was so tired of holding myself together. The grief that followed wasn't just about Daniel. It wasn't even just about Marcus. It was about the mother who looked at my pain and saw an inconvenience, the family that circled around the people who hurt me and left me standing outside, alone. I had lost a fiancé, a brother, and a family all in the same weekend. But somewhere inside that grief, quiet at first, then louder with every passing day, something else was growing. Not anger, not hatred, clarity. For the first time in my life, I could see everyone around me with perfect, painful, liberating honesty, and what I saw set me free in a way I never expected. I didn't plan a dramatic revenge. I didn't need to, because the truth has a way of doing its own work, quietly, completely, and right on time. 3 weeks after I walked out of Daniel's apartment, I made two decisions. The first, I returned the ring by courier. No note, no explanation, just the ring in a box delivered to his door, like returning something that was never really mine. The second, I called every mutual friend, every wedding vendor, every person who had been invited to our wedding, and I told them simply, the wedding is canceled. No details, no drama, just the end of a chapter. Word spreads fast. It always does. Within days, the truth came out, not from me, but from someone who had seen Marcus leaving Daniel's apartment before, someone who had suspected but stayed quiet. Suddenly, the story my family had carefully managed started unraveling on its own. Daniel lost several friendships that weekend. Men he'd considered his closest friends quietly stepped back when they understood what he had done. Marcus, who had always cared deeply about his reputation, found himself unable to look most people in the eye. And my mother called me, crying, not to apologize, to tell me things had become very uncomfortable at home. I listened, and then I said, gently, clearly, without a single tremor in my voice, Mom, I love you, but I will not carry the weight of what they did just to make your life comfortable. When you're ready to see my pain the way you saw theirs, I'll be here. And I hung up. That was 6 months ago. Today, I live in a smaller apartment, a quieter life. I wake up without dread. I eat breakfast without checking my phone with anxiety. I laugh, genuinely, with the few people who stood by me when everything fell apart. Do I miss who I thought Daniel was? Sometimes. Do I miss who I thought Marcus was? Every single day. But I don't miss who I was becoming, a woman so afraid of losing people that she was willing to lose herself just to keep the peace. So if you're sitting somewhere right now, holding the weight of someone else's betrayal while the world tells you to forgive and move on, please hear me. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. But forgiveness does not mean returning to the fire just because someone asks you to. You are allowed to choose peace. You are allowed to choose yourself, even when, especially when, no one in that room is choosing you. That was the lesson my broken before gave my beautiful after, and I would not trade it for anything.